Specifically on Tuesday, we played one of our rival teams, Floyd, and we actually had a really good win. I mean, we had an incredible first quarter. A lot of younger, youthful players on our team really stepped up that game. And why don't you just talk a little bit about the highlights of that game?
I think we really jumped on it early offensively in that game, and defensively we were very focused on what we were doing. But more importantly, I thought we rebounded really well. It's been really good to see some of our players coming up. We've had some injuries and some illnesses and some different things going on, and we just keep kind of like next player in, and we've really kind of held our own despite the adversity of that.
Yeah, so let's talk about some things that we did well specifically. I know you talked a lot in practice about putting things inside of the paint. Just talk about how you would approach that differently for future games.
I think we're doing a little better job in transition. We're getting out and getting some easy baskets, which we need to do. We're executing our offense a little better than we were. We're actually reversing the basketball every once in a while because I keep telling them that percentages go up when we do that, and we insist on trying to score in 2 passes. So we're doing a little better job of being a little more patient and letting things develop. I thought we moved the ball well. I thought we found the open player, and that made for some easy offense early on in the game. And then when we sputtered a little later in the game and just weren't hitting some shots, when you build a lead like that, you can have a bad quarter later.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through the game, it was really the first half, you shut down Kaiser a lot. And I know we talked about that the last time we were on here. So just talk about how your team really played a role defensively in shutting her down.
I think they did a really good job of just recognizing where she was at all times. I don't think they gave her too many open shots. I remember one time in transition we came down and she got a wide open shot from the outside. But overall, we're doing a much better job this year overall of recognizing another team's best player and making sure that we have a hand in their face, even if it means we're maybe out of position in different spots. We make sure that somebody else is getting that shot besides their best player quickly.
So with the one game we did win this week, we had a 3-game losing streak, and obviously that sometimes has a toll. Do you think that there was any attitude difference from last week compared to this week?
I really didn't think so. I felt like they went into the Silver Creek game knowing that was going to be a really tough game, and if you come out of there with a win on the road, that's fantastic. But I don't think they felt like there's a difference between another team beat you versus you lose a game. And I feel like they got beat by 3 really good teams. I didn't feel like it was a matter of we went in and just didn't play well at all, or we didn't try hard or anything of that nature. We played with 3 really good teams, and I think they knew that. They competed well against 3 really good teams. So I don't think that's necessarily something to have a negative about at the end. And then they bounced back and started the game at Lawrenceburg, really long drive, and started off a little slowly and then held them to 5 points the second half. So that was a great defensive effort also. And then ahead into the Floyd Central game on the weekend.
It's obviously fun winning against a rival team. So let's talk more about you in regards to sometimes not being at basketball. So just talk about your life outside of the court.
Life outside of basketball. I tend to look for my moments because I do spend so much time dedicating myself to watching game film, preparing for things. The managerial side of coaching takes a lot of time outside of just being at practice. So when I find time off, I'm usually looking to travel. I'm looking to plan my travel, so I'm already planning on what I'm going to do with spring break in my summertime, and I just like to be out.
So before you came to Jeff, you had a lot of coaching experience at North Harrison. So let's talk a little bit about that team and how it maybe differs from this team.
I was there for a really long time. So, and a little bit of difference, I taught 8th grade there. So every kid who walked into my high school program in a small school like that, I taught every single one of them. So I had known them from a teacher-student standpoint beforehand. I had been working with them since they were in kindergarten, 1st grade, coming up through the program. So even the kids that are currently still there are kids that I taught in youth league, and that's going to be the case for another 3 or 4 years before they all filter through and it becomes kids that I didn't work with when they were younger. So a little different relationship when you've been around people since they were 6, 7, 8 years old coming through. So there's that closeness there that I'm hoping to develop if I'm here long enough to watch that happen here. Smaller community. So, I know all their aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters and went to school with their families, and, just a little different.
There's a lot of players you have developed through North Harrison. I mean, you talked about how you've known them, you really are tight because this is a tight-knit community. So can you talk about maybe some notable players who you would mention, who you've really developed?
Right off the bat, probably the first year I was there, I had a set of sisters. They were a year apart in age, and they were just physical and fun to coach. And I still keep in touch with both of them. That was the Carr sisters. One's currently living still in Harrison County, and the other one lives in Hawaii. So I kind of keep track with them on Facebook. So they were a fun first 2 years. Probably most notably would be back the year that we went undefeated. for a season, and that was when Coach Logan, who is now on my staff, was on my team, and Kim McMillan, who I also keep track of. A lot of these kids I keep track of thanks to social media. Liz Geltmaker, they were all three very good players. And currently we still have a few that played for me that are playing college ball. Lily Hatton's at Wofford now, and Callie Nolot's at Kentucky Wesleyan. I went and watched her play last week.
All right, speaking of being very physical, we have an upcoming game. Our first Louisville team, actually, Sacred Heart, is coming up tomorrow, actually. So just talk about your approach to that game.
It's like any other game. You're going to look at what are the strengths, what are the tendencies of a team, and try to see what you're going to do to counterattack what they do. I'll give Joe Hinton a lot of credit for the way that I scout and the way I prepare for games. I used to pay a little more attention to exactly what people were doing offensively, and sometimes I do that if it's important, and I'll teach us a specific offense that I want us to change. But I started scouting with him, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, and I would sit and watch him scout, and he never wrote down anything. He just sat there and he'd watch, and then he would go, well, this is what they do, so this is what we should do against that. And he just really taught me to view the game more from what other teams what to do and what they want to do and how you counterattack that. So, you know, there's certain things that I'm watching with Sacred Heart and the way that they want to run the floor, the way they like their scoring opportunities, and we're going to work on that. And we have been the last 2 days in practice. I'm not sure the kids understand that the drills are specifically set up for this is what we're going to do on Thursday, but there's certain things we're going to look to take away in the way they like to play.
Do you think there's any large difference between the way Louisville schools play compared to, let's say, Indiana schools that we've played so far?
I'll have to wait until I see some of the public schools that we're playing in Louisville versus the private schools, because, you know, the private schools, you get a little more recruiting going in there. So, you know, the team we're playing on Thursday would rival a small college. They're all 5'10" to 6'1", and they're all probably college-bound athletes, you know, so it's a little different. I'll be interested to see what happens with the other two schools that we play. But no, I don't feel the game's much different with the way they play. I think the teams that we are specifically playing in Kentucky, they're a very aggressive man-to-man defensive teams, and I don't know that I see teams as aggressive right now on our schedule here as what we're going to see in Louisville in the next month.
Well, another upcoming game for us is the Charlestown game, and obviously that's a really fun game for us because we're a team who we know a lot of the players who play there, and we are tight-knit with some of them, and obviously it's a fun game because it's a rival team. So just explain your approach to that game.
Well, I mean, it's our school corporation, so, you know, that makes it a rivalry right away because you're within the corporation and they're just down the road. You know all the players. I think our kids look forward to that game every year. They can tell me everything about them, names, numbers, everything, and they can't tell me that about every other school, but they can for a few. So I think they're pretty pumped up for that one. We've got a lot planned for that night and other aspects to just kind of make it a fun pre-Christmas kind of celebration thing. So, we prepare kind of the same. I like to know who their shooters are. I like to know what to do to run them out of the positions that they really are the most comfortable in. I think if we come out and we defend the way we have been defending and we rebound as well as we have the last two games, we're going to come out with a pretty good game on that one.
They're definitely a competitive team. That night's also elementary night, so just talk a little bit more about that.
Elementary night. Really looking forward to elementary night. It really blew into more than what I intended. My idea was just I would like to get our elementary kids in, and then I had this brainstorm shirt idea that I just thought was pretty cool. So then I decided everyone should have this shirt. So, you know, I found sponsors. We have 5 of them now. Parlor Pizza's providing the kids with pizza that night, so when they get here, they're going to have pizza. Coach Wigginton has said we should do contests, so he's going to be in charge of a halftime contest, the JV game with the kids. Then we're going to bring them out just like we do the starting lineup, so they'll get to run out like the starting lineup does for the varsity game, which I think they'll enjoy a lot. Republic Bank, I'm going to forget somebody, Lincoln Crum Realty, Westmoreland Pharmacy, and Carriage Ford are the 4 teams that are the 4 businesses that have provided these shirts for the kids. So I'm pretty excited to be able to give every one of them one of these shirts. I wish I would have brought one in because they're super cool. Maybe we'll make you wear one in the next interview. That'll be good.
All right, sounds good. So is it more of like they're going to run out with us, or is it more of like they're going to play, we're going to see who our upcoming generations are?
I'm going to line every one of these little kids up and we're going to announce their name. We're going to run them out like we do a starting lineup. All right. We're going to turn the lights off. We're going to announce them. They're going to have a good time. I've seen this done one other time. I'll give Coach Warren credit for this. This is where I got the idea. I was up here one day playing a game, or I was scouting. I don't know. I was here watching, and he ran 100 kids through there, and they had a blast. And I thought that is a fantastic idea, and I have never forgotten it, so we are going to duplicate that.
Yeah, I know. A lot of us are really excited for that. So Make sure you show out for the elementary night Charlestown game against our rivals December 14th. This has been another WJHI production on 98.5 WJHI LP Jeffersonville.